You ever feel like there's this huge gap between generations? Like there's just this constant stream of questions that sound more like accusations? Well, today, we're going to get past all those stereotypes. We're going to uncover the real story of what it's like to be a teen today, and we're going to do it with actual data, not just opinions. It always seems to start with this one, doesn't it? This idea that today's kids just don't have the same fire, the same drive. And then, right on cue, comes the complaints about their attention spans, how technology has supposedly just wrecked their ability to concentrate on anything. And of course, the big one, the charge of entitlement. But here's the thing, do these labels really tell the whole story? Are we maybe missing something much, much bigger? A reality that's a whole lot more challenging than we think. So to guide us through all of this, we're looking at a really powerful TEDx talk by Nikki Marsh called The Problems of Teenagers Are Real. We're also using some fantastic notes put together by Dr. Karthika S.B., who is a research supervisor and assistant professor of English. Together, they're going to help us make sense of this whole generational misunderstanding. All right, so here's the plan. We'll start with those Generation Y questions. Then we'll dive into the actual science behind their struggles. After that, we'll look at some teen trends that might actually surprise you, debunk some classic myths, and finish up with a really important idea. Every single struggle is real. Okay, so let's move away from just, what people think is going on and look at what the research actually tells us. What is really happening with today's teens, according to the science? It sounds like a simple question, right? But the answer points to a huge, widespread problem that affects literally everything, from how they do in school to their overall mental health. And this isn't just some small online poll. We're talking about a massive study from Columbia University. They looked at 270,000, that's right, 270,000 adolescents. And what they found was a crystal clear and honestly pretty worrying trend. Our teens are getting less and less sleep. And the number is just stark. So many teens are getting less than 7 hours of sleep a night. And this isn't just about them being a little groggy in the morning. No, this directly leads to higher anxiety, way more stress, and, you guessed it, a real drop in how well they can perform at school. This whole sleep thing, it's tied into a much bigger mental health picture. Psychology today points out something pretty staggering. Today's teens, high school and college students, are 5 to 8 times more likely to show symptoms of depression than teens were back in the baby boomer or Gen X days. That is a massive jump. And that brings us to some data that's really tough to look at, but it's so important. This is from the CDC. In a recent high school survey, 16% had seriously thought about suicide. 13% had actually made a plan. And 8% said they'd made an attempt in the last year. These aren't just numbers, they're a cry for help. But, and this is a really important but, that is not the whole story. If we only focus on the struggles, we miss another key part of the reality here. Because underneath all this, there are some incredibly positive and frankly surprising trends going on. Seriously, check this out. When you look at their own health and safety, today's teens are actually making way smarter choices than generations before them. Smoking is at a 22-year low. Teen pregnancies are at historic lows. They're using their seatbelts more and using illicit drugs less. It's pretty amazing. And that positive trend, it doesn't stop there. More kids are graduating high school than before, so those rates are up. And at the same time, the rates of kids in juvenile detention have dropped a lot. So what about that whole stereotype that they're self-obsessed and only care about themselves? Well, the data just blows that right out of the water. Get this, out of everyone under the age of 35, you know who is most likely to volunteer their time for a good cause? Yep, teenagers, the 16 to 19-year-olds. Okay, so if they're more responsible and more community-minded, why do they get such a bad rap, especially when it comes to things like work? Well, a huge study from IBM decided to really put those old stereotypes to the test. And this is where it gets really interesting. That thing people call entitlement, the IBM study found it's actually resilience. It's the ability to get feedback and not take it personally. And that bad worker label, it basically disappears when they have bosses who treat them fairly. They don't just expect promotions, they expect to have the chance to work their butts off to earn them. So, we've looked at the data, the tough stuff and the really good stuff, but the last piece of this puzzle, maybe the most important piece, it's not about numbers at all. It's about empathy. Here's the core idea from the talk. It doesn't matter what a person's background is. It doesn't matter if they seem to have a comfortable life. That doesn't make their pain any less real. We just can't dismiss someone's struggle just because we think somebody else has it worse. The speaker in the TEDx talk puts it just perfectly. Disappointment to me feels the same as disappointment to you. It's such a simple, powerful reminder. The thing that causes the struggle might be different for each of us, but that feeling is something we all understand. She tells this absolutely heartbreaking story about a teammate who, from the outside, had the perfect life. You know, the type, athletic, popular, great family, but nobody had any idea about the invisible battle she was fighting inside. Her death was this awful, powerful reminder that you can never, ever know what's really going on inside someone's head just by looking at their life from the outside. And that really brings us to the main point of all of this. It's not about trying to rank who has it harder or deciding whose pain is valid. It's about this one simple, profound truth. For the person who is going through it, the problem is always real. So I guess the final question is for all of us. Now that we have the data, now that we've busted some myths, now that we've heard these stories, how do we change the conversation? How do we stop asking, why are you like this? And start asking, hey, what is it like to be you right now? That small shift could change everything.